Hey guys, this is basically part 2 of the last video because there were 2 topics in the last video. The last section, that part of my book, covered 2 topics, but I just wanted to keep them a little bit shorter, so I just wanted to cover one topic in the last video and then this topic in this video. This topic is a combative complex, and it basically talks about how a lot of people will look at you thinking you just want to argue about different subjects. You just want to be different. You just want to be argumentative, or things like that. I've known a lot of individuals who can't have a discussion without either correcting or at least echoing someone else's thoughts. So I mean, I understand why people who hear new ideas or people who want to discuss these different fringe topics, I understand why they can think that, why they can think that you're just trying to have a combative complex. But it doesn't really mean that those accusations are true. I've been accused of sowing discord among the brethren because of some of the things that I want to discuss. It doesn't mean that I'm combative. And this one bothers me because people who know me know that I'm one of the most peaceful individuals when it comes to a relationship with you. Even during the early years of my ministry in the organization that I always speak about, that I came out of, my early years in the Pentecostal church, my pastor and fellow ministers, they would compliment me because of my character. On one occasion, I remember the pastor came up, and I don't know what was going on in the church, but there was some things, some couples, some affairs, different things like that, people with different problems. And I know the pastor was hearing about a lot of stuff during that time, and he was just kind of getting stressed, kind of like that Moses, when Moses had his father-in-law was just like, look, kind of delegate some of your problems to other people. I think it was that kind of thing. There was just too much for one man. He just kept hearing about a lot of stuff. He came up to me after the service, and I could tell a lot of these things were on his mind, because all he said was just, Andy, put his hand on my shoulder. He said, thank you for never causing drama here. I appreciate your character, with things you do. Of course, this was during a time, this was before my theology shifted. And it's funny because, during that time when I would comply and teach the doctrine they wanted me to teach, when everything was just according to their articles of faith, and I was just being that yes man, that good saint who would come bring my family to every church service, every midweek Bible study, give my 10% of my paycheck before taxes were taken out, give the gross, doing everything the way they wanted it to be done. Show up for music practice, every music practice. I was working night shift, Saturday nights, going straight to church on Sunday morning with no sleep, and the Sunday evening church service, and going back to my night shift work that night with no sleep. Did that for years. So I was being that good boy, because, I just felt if I missed church, you felt so guilty, even if it was, even if you had to work. But so I was doing everything I could to please the ministry. And so when they would compliment my character, it was because I was, doing everything according to the way they wanted me to do it. But after I began to voice the findings of my research, or the topics that I was beginning to see differently, the information that wasn't lining up with my beliefs, their beliefs, the leadership began to base their opinion of my character on their attitude about my beliefs. So their feelings toward the information that I was looking into, that began to shift over to who I was. Okay, the same pastors who complimented my character for years suddenly concluded that I developed an ill spirit simply because I wanted to discuss controversial issues. So even though my character remained consistent, I was accused of debate mongering. Now, just because the information that I've come across is controversial, it doesn't mean my character is combative. It only demonstrates that that they have a defensive nature. You know, and that other people are indoctrinated. So when a core belief is challenged, and they have those 3 core beliefs I talked about in the last video, when you challenge a core belief, it triggers defense mechanisms from those who cling more to tradition than truth, you know. And I would often hear, we don't budge on doctrine. And that means that you shouldn't deviate from what the pioneers of their organization established as the truth. And that organization is, I don't know when it started, but that belief system really came out in the early 1900s. And there were some pioneers of that movement, the Oneness Pentecostal movement, and it kind of developed slowly after time, and different organizations formed from that belief system. And basically, if you question what the pioneers of that organization have established as truth and put as their articles of faith, that's the problem. That's when you're not one of them. If you question that, you basically get out. Either conform to it or get out. I was told before I left that, well, you can attend our services. We're not going to disfellowship. You can attend our services, but don't talk about your beliefs with anyone. That was the ultimatum. We just basically, don't talk about God with anyone. Come here where we preach about God, but don't talk about God with anyone. That was the choice that I was given. Where they would have taken every dime that I would have put in that offering plate. That wouldn't have been a problem. And I'm sorry, maybe that comment, I shouldn't have said that. But looking back, though, you get these different. When you look back, you see an organization for what it is. I mean, and I'm not questioning their character, okay? I'm not saying these are bad people. I'm just saying they have a system set up where they're okay with certain things, you know. But you can't mess with that system, all right? So I don't know. Sorry if I'm being sarcastic. Sorry, but it's just funny that you look back and you see the way things really are. It just changes everything. And I know it may seem like an upright stance to not question what has already been established, because the apostles stood firm in their beliefs. Their position was superior to those who didn't have the truth. I get it. So it makes sense to express the same attitude when you're confident about what you believe. But what I found in this organization, and this can be anywhere, is that there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Okay? Many groups can believe they are upholding the truth in confidence. Well, they've just been misled. They don't know that what they believe was a man-made doctrine. You know, they look at it as, well, God was restoring His truth to us, and we have that truth now. And it was my story while I was under the influence of Pentecostal tradition. But the true test comes when new information becomes available. How are you going to respond? Are you just going to reject an idea the first time you hear it because you already have the truth and you don't need to look into anything? You're taught to do that. You're being taught from these places that There's no reason to even look into anything else. We already got the truth. You don't need to try the spirits to see whether they are of God. You don't need to test all things. You already have it. That's what's happening. So I guess this was a short section. Traditionalists, they will accuse you of having a combative complex or wavering from one fringe belief to another, just trying to be argumentative. You got to understand, though, it's your character probably never changed. Most likely, and what happened with me was that their ill feelings towards my new beliefs, they were protecting their organization and what they've established. They were protecting that, so they were kind of, they were looking for different things in me and saying that I changed. They were saying, well, your character's changed now. Most likely you're just being passionate about the sharing the new information that you've uncovered. That's the case with me. I'm passionate about exposing different lies. I'm passionate about sharing a lot of the information that God has shown me. I want to, my motive is to bring clarity to those living in this endless matrix of lies. So I don't believe you've displayed a combative complex. And I know there are some people who have. I know a guy who has seen that the modern churches are, he has come out of that system. He has observed a lot of the things that I believe, but there's one topic that he and I disagree on, and he is very combative. He's gotten on Facebook and just kind of just blasted different people who hold to a certain belief that I have, or that a few other guys that I know have. So I know there are always going to be a couple bad apples, but it doesn't mean, like, if you come into a new belief, it doesn't mean your character's changed. It probably just means that those people who have a hard time questioning their own beliefs, it's probably just ammo that they're using against you. I know it was in my case. My character never changed. The same guy that I was when I was a part of their system, but it was okay. It was okay for me to discuss these things. It was okay to them when I was trying to get other people to see it their way. It was perfectly fine. Nothing was wrong with my character to them back then. So it's funny how suddenly my approach to these subjects, I'm looked at as being aggressive now, when it's not in favor of their belief system. So let's talk about the role of an ark builder again. Remember that? Like, it's the way I use that phrase is basically a ministry of people who are kind of bringing out these subjects and exposing the modern church system, the modern commercial Christianity, churchianity. We'll use that. I know a lot of people like using that word, so we'll say churchianity. This ministry that I have, I guess that I kind of refer to myself as an ark builder. A lot of the people that I've met in the past few years, or I have seen speak at different conferences, and who have written books, who have kind of come into the same understanding. It's not as though I'm saying any of these other ark builders are superior to the traditionalists. It's not a matter of that either. Now, when I was a part of that organization, the Oneness Pentecostal, the Oneness Pentecostal Church does preach that they do teach that they have this special apostolic authority and that they are superior to everyone else. So, and that's not what I'm trying to say. From my position now, I'm not trying to say that the role of an ark builder is superior to everyone else. You know, I just think God is positioning people who are willing vessels within the proximity of others who need their eyes opened to the deception. And it's our responsibility to follow the spirit of truth, even when it involves our approach towards others. The scripture says in John 16:13, when the spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth, for he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. So I'm going to end on that note. I know this video was maybe a little more scattered than the others, but I hope you've gained a little bit from it. There are some good points in here, and it was kind of the concluding thoughts of the last section. So I don't know. I don't think you're being combative if you want to preach truth. Was he being combative when he went up against the Pharisees? It raised a lot of controversy. They were more in love with their tradition and the way they were doing things, and the way, you just have to apply that. You really have to apply the ministry of Christ in today's setting. He was hated for his beliefs. He wasn't being combative. He just knew that over time, this belief system, there was a belief system that the Pharisees, that they had made something different of it than what God initially established. And that's what's happening when you apply it to today's setting. The churches that you see on the corner of every city block, those establishments have made something different today than what was established in the first century. And so when you have people who are calling out those belief systems, it's kind of the same circumstances as Christ when he came in and he totally just called them all out on everything. I don't think he had a bad attitude about it. I just think that it was controversial, and all these Pharisees were getting offended because he was messing with their belief system and what they had made of it. Same circumstances today. So, you know what? When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth. And I'll leave you with that. Love you guys.